What's up, Vankas? Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Holidays. This episode is a look back at the year of 2024. We're on a bit of a vacation, but we wanted to give you guys an episode. So we've chosen the best moments from this past year, of which there were so many we had to leave some on the chopping block. But this is our favorite moments of this last year, put together for you guys to enjoy and reminisce over what was an absolutely incredible 2024 F1 season, podcast year for us, and it's all thanks to you guys. So hope you have an amazing holiday season and enjoy this episode of The Red Flag's Best Moments. Mwah! This clip is from our interview with Liam Lawson, at the time V-Car driver, now Max Verstappen's teammate. God bless.
Oh, you and Yuki go way back. We interviewed Yuki earlier today. He said that he talked about your guys' dynamic. Your guys is like, you know, you've raced against each other for a long time. You have this friendship that sometimes on track, you guys like.
He says you tend to find each other.
You guys find each other.
You want to know a story about that kid?
Yes,
dude. When we used to race, Yuki used to do this thing. So the first year that we were teammates in F3 was 2019, and we did FIA-F3. We weren't teammates.
Yeah.
And then we did Euro Formula Open, which is like the older F3 cars. At the same time, we did both championships. We had to miss a couple of rounds, but we were teammates in that. So I got to know him pretty well. And all year, the team that we were racing for were the best in the Euro Formula, so we were always at the front. In a practice session or in a quali session, whenever I was on a cool-down lap and Yuki would come past me, I'd see him coming in the mirror, so I'd get out of his way. He would always insist on just getting like as close to me as possible. Like, I don't know if he was trying to scare me or what it was, but just like right in front of me.
Whoa,
and
that
I'm
was
like,
good.
What is this kid doing? Like, and he did this all year. And we go to Macau.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, Macau, it's an insane circuit. It's like street circuit, really bumpy. It's borderline. Can't believe they race there. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Really, really cool track. And so we both get phone calls from, it's both of our first time. We get phone calls from Helmut. And he says, whatever you do not crash in the first session because you need the time on the track to build up for the qualifying. Don't crash.
Yeah.
Roger that.
Yeah.
So we go to Macau. I go out first lap on track. The practice session's like an hour long. Very first lap I go out. I do my first lap. I complete it. I cool down. I'm on my cool down lap now, and I see Yuki coming in the rear view. And I'm like trying to get out of his way, obviously. I'm trying to get all the way over to the left side of the wall. I'm up against a brick wall, literally trying to be next to him. And he comes up, and as he comes past me, he just clips my front wheel, and he goes flying. And just straight into the barrier, like gearbox off the back of the car, like destroys the car.
Yeah.
Breaks my front suspension as well.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm out of the session now as well.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, I knew exactly what he did.
Yeah.
Nobody else knows this.
Right,
Everyone just thinks that we've had a clumsy little crash.
Right.
But I know what he's done. I know that he's tried to get close and he's obviously hit a fucking bump because it's Macau. Misjudged it. And I see him in the elevator that night. I remember the elevator doors opening the first time I seen him, and he's standing there, and I looked at him like, and he smiled at me, and I knew straight away that he knew exactly what he had done. And he basically just tried to get really close and just rode off his car in the very, very first session.
Yeah, and I said, do you talk, like when you have a sketchy moment, he called it, do you talk about it after? He goes, no, I just say, oh, remember that time? Funny story. Like he talks about like...
Dude, we crashed together in Spa.
Yeah.
Really like intense part of the year, championship.
Yeah.
We'd found this iPhone game earlier in the week called Flick Tennis.
Okay.
And we'd been playing each other all week on this tennis game on our iPhones. And we crashed in the race.
Yeah.
Like bad crash, both of us out of the race. And I get out of the car and I go to him and we're both like pissed off and we didn't say anything, looked at me and he just goes, Flick tennis? I was like, oh my God.
And were you like, yeah? Were you like, I get it. What was your vibe?
Yeah, let's go play flick tennis.
Let's say you saw someone in the Red Bull garage struggling, right? And then they always do this, dude. They always, when Daniel Ricciardo's struggling or Sergio Perez is struggling, they always fucking cut
to me, bro. I know. You should see. I'm standing there. Something will happen. Either one of them will spin, and I'll like look down the pit lane. Dudes with his camera sprinting down the pit lane like, to get the shot. And I'm like, every single time they do it.
And what's your move? Like, he's an actor.
I'm trying so hard not to smile when not because of what's happened, but just because I know what they're doing. I know the camera's coming.
Yeah.
I know that he's trying not to lose his job and get the shot.
Right.
It's just the situation. It cracks me up, dude. Like,
so what do you think of? Do you think of anything to try to keep your like? Just think of what I had for breakfast. Or you go into a mind state?
Yeah, I think whatever I can. The first thing, like whatever I can.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm in the. It's like this. It's actually more mentally focused than being in the car.
Dude, it's. You ever been in class like when you're younger and it's like a test and you have to be really silent,
right?
And you're trying not to laugh. It's like that.
So you're trying not to crack up.
Yeah, so, I mean, not all the time. It depends on what's happened. If they've just spun, then yeah. Obviously, if they've had a crash, I'm not sitting there laughing. But
if it was a spin, I just wanted one or something. I just wanted one time for you to just be like, I see what you're doing.
Yeah.
I do.
It's so entertaining as fans when you see that. You see you looking and also when you're in the garage.
You're so good at poker. You should play poker.
Because also when you're in the garage. They have like the broadcast on the monitors.
You see
it's
yourself.
on like a little delay.
We all see ourselves.
Yeah.
Whenever they cut to a shot of somebody in the garage and they're just like, they know very well that they've been looked at.
By the way, that's how you know the person's a pro is when they don't react. When they go like this, you're like amateur.
No, 100%. 100%. I used to be like,
and they're like, that guy, he's not ready.
No,
Helmet saw that. He's like, he's not ready.
What's this guy doing?
This is from our interview with, I think his name is Daniel Ricciardo. Randomly, you might have heard of him.
I don't recall this. Where was this?
Never seen this photo before. Don't know her. Never heard of her.
So, well done, Baku.
Yeah.
So actually, on Well Done, Baku.
Yeah.
So the first year we went there, all like the circuit branding said "Well done, Baku." So it was like they were congratulating themselves.
Yeah.
So every time we go there, and after this incident, we always like "Well done, Baku."
Yeah.
All right. So, well, this one was. You never want teammates to clash, right?
Yeah.
Maybe the fans do, but
Yeah.
the team certainly doesn't.
Right.
So if you're going to ask me, did we get an absolute bollocking after this? Yes. Did we get called to the teacher's classroom?
Yeah.
Or the teacher's desk? I don't know, whatever you call
Principal's
it.
office.
Principal's office. That's it.
Yeah.
Yes, we did. And we took it. Like, we'd hit wheels a few times. We should have known that it was starting to escalate, and eventually it did.
Right.
And the decibels were the vocal decibel level
Yeah.
in the office afterwards. Let's just say Max and I weren't the only ones that would have heard the bollocking that we got.
The entire Red Bull crew heard that.
The walls are thin, trust me.
When you walked out, it's like everyone's like waiting for you, and then they're like, Didn't hear that at all.
It was definitely that. So on that, I guess, well done, Baku.
Well done, Baku. We got
next page.
This is a picture from a video of you and Max on a flight getting drunk and hanging out and having what seems like the best time ever.
It was pretty good.
Yeah.
I guess my question is like, how do you teammates we see what happens with Pierre and Esteban and like Nico and Hamilton, Nico and Lewis, and like we see these things get so toxic, and how are you able to have that incident with Max and also be friends with him?
It's, I guess the short answer is at some point you have to move on, and it happens. Like, okay, in a way, yes, it shouldn't happen. Like, you shouldn't clash with your teammate, but we both were young and hungry, and egos and everything gets in the way, and it's so when you're battling like that, it can happen, and it did. So I don't know. I think we probably came out of it, even though I was a bit whatever at the time, whether it was a month later or 2 months later, I think we did come out of it better. And it was weird because even though we obviously had the crash, we were super competitive, and yes, there was a rivalry. I think we always respected each other in terms of respected each other's talent and what we're trying to like bring to the table. So yeah, then I think this was maybe the year after when I'd moved to Renault. And yeah, naturally, probably some of that tension dissipated because we're no longer, yes, we're competing against each other, but we're not directly. So there's less of this.
But that could so easily turn into resentment. Like you left the team, and now it's his team, and but now you're buddies.
Yeah, I guess I just let it go.
Well, that's the question, right? Is like people are asking about him and Lando because they're like buddies, and now
and you're friends with both, and you're friends with both of them.
You're friends with both of them, and Lando's like, if he doesn't apologize, I'm going to lose a lot of respect for him, and I'm not going to talk to him. He better come talk to me. And it's just like, I guess it's like, what's your advice for Lando entering the Lions Den, which is going head to head with Max Verstappen, and being friends with him,
right? Yeah, I mean, the only probably advice I could give is, because even when I came into the sport, I was like, can't be friends with anyone. Everyone's an enemy, and that is the way that you beat them on track. And yeah, like for sure you need to carry some intensity about the way you strap the helmet on, and you don't see anyone on the track as a friend. They're all competitors and that. So like, yeah, you do have to create some separation, but doesn't mean you have to hate everyone and drive with this like animosity. So yeah, I would say, yeah, it's fine to have a relationship and be mates and whatever, but I think we all know when the helmet's on, it's business, so to speak, and you can't expect, just because maybe, call it Max in this case, is a little bit of a friend to Lando, you can't expect Max just to give him a victory. So yeah, just, I don't know.
Even if he's so ahead in the championship and they're so close?
The thing is, and look, you could see
the tire advantage. I mean, it was his win. Come on.
No, wait, I'm also not defending. I'm not on anyone's side, but my point is,
I'm kidding.
I guess in that situation, yeah, you could say conservatively he can afford to lose some points, but maybe then in his head, the psychology is, why give him an inch today? And then that sets up something else for the future. And it's like, you can't afford to roll over.
Do you ever see someone in your mirror? Does it ever change like or do you race everybody the same?
I definitely, the approach is I race everyone the same, and I try not to be like, oh, that's so-and-so behind me or in front of me.
Yeah.
But I can't lie, I've been doing this enough years to start to know traits of drivers and know that this driver might give me a little bit more room, and this driver is probably going to run me off the track. So maybe you put a bit of thought into it, but so many overtakes are like split-second decisions that you can't really afford to think, what's this driver going to do? You see a gap and you have to go, and then we'll see how it comes out on the other side, I guess.
What's Max like to party with? Because this is a side of Max I feel like people don't know or see, and then you get a glimpse of it, and you're like,
whoa.
We heard he likes G&Ts. We heard he's a big G&T guy.
He loves G&Ts. I think this is where I guess I'm quite comfortable speaking, like positively about Max because yes, we had the rivalry and we've gone through, but like, there's also, that's just Max like as a competitor, but it's not necessarily him as an individual. And yes, like he's intense and whatever, but off track, like he's a pretty normal kid. Like we've all got our quirks and whatever. None of us are probably that normal, but like he does normal things and loves a GT every now and then. But he's respectful. If my family's here and that at the track, he'll come and say hi. And like he's a pretty normal kid.
Were you like the older brother bad influence on him when he got in?
But I feel like all like the Red Bull stuff we did together. It was, like racing caravans or doing stuff like that. We were always just egging each other on. And I knew if I baited him into something, he was going to do it.
Venkers, as you know, we have teamed up with BetMGM this season, and we are using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks. And if you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code DADDY and you will get up to $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager with BetMGM. Here is how it works. You download the BetMGM app and you sign up using the bonus code DADDY, because we're fun. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game. You'll receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your bet loses. Just make sure that you use the bonus code DADDY when you sign up. Don't forget, if you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code DADDY and get your first $1,500 first bet offer today. See BetMGM.com for terms. 21 and over. U.S. promotional offers not available in New York, Nevada, Ontario, or Puerto Rico. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Available in the U.S. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY for New York. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP for Arizona. 1-800-327-5050 for Massachusetts. 1-800-BETS-OFF for Indiana. 1-800-981-0023 for Puerto Rico. First bet offer for new customers only. Subject to eligibility requirements. Rewards are non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 7 days. In partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. Don't forget, if you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code DADDY and get your $1,500 first bet offer today. This is from our most watched interview of the year, beating Daniel Ricciardo, if you can believe that. I think you can, because this is with the one, the only, honorary daddy, Nicole Piastri.
Yeah, how's he coping with his newfound fame?
I don't think it's any different. I said, "Oh my God, so you met Matt Damon?" And he's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "What? Was he nice?" And he's like, yeah, he's nice. Yeah. He FaceTimes. So he FaceTimes. That's how we usually communicate. Yeah. And
now, do we get a lot of chin in the nose, or does he like center it?
No, he's always in bed. Always in bed. So he's lying back in bed. And he's always done that, even at boarding school. And when he was in Bahrain for the Grand Prix this year, I went to Bahrain the year before and stayed at the same hotel as Oscar. This year he FaceTimed from Bahrain, so I knew he was in Bahrain, and he's in bed. And we're talking for about half an hour, and I said, "What is that behind you? What are you leaning?" He's leaning against the wall, and I said, "What is that behind you?" And he's like, "I don't know." And I said, "Is that a tapestry?" And he turned the camera around, and there was this beautiful, ornate tapestry with gold through it, and I'm like, "What hotel are you staying at? Like, that's fancy." And he's like, "Oh, I'm at the Royal Palace." I'm like, "What?" And he goes, "Oh, I'm at the Royal He goes, "I'm at the Royal Palace." I'm like, "What? Why are you at the Royal Palace?" He goes, "I'm a guest of the Crown Prince. He owns a team." And I'm like, "Oh my God, get your head off the tapestry." Oscar, that would be worth like $1 squillion. And normal. And he's like, he turned around and looked at it. He goes, "I don't think so, Mum. It looks pretty old." Like, I go, and I'm like, and then he scanned the room. He was staying in like a villa on the grounds of the palace. And it was beautiful, like as you'd imagine, beautiful antique furniture, and it was just stunning. But right in the middle of the room is his suitcase, and it looked like he had picked up all his clothes and gone. There's clothes strewn everywhere, and I'm like, "Oscar, pick up your clothes." And he's like, I go, "You're in a palace, mate." And he's like, no one is seeing this. No one's coming in here. I'm like, "Well, I'm sure there's cleaners." And he's like, "Yeah, but Mum, the prince is just walking around in his Birkenstocks and his boardy." He's like, "No one cares." And it's like, okay, I give up.
All right.
So fame has not changed Oscar, and I don't believe
fame has not changed him. We heard that you have a story of how he told you that he was ultimately going to F1 and going to McLaren. What can you tell us that story?
So so it was a Saturday night, and I was Ubering his sisters and their friends to different parties. So I was dropping off one group, picking up the next, and he'd FaceTimed. So we're all, the kids would get in the car and they'd be like, "Hi, Oscar, what are you doing?" And so I don't know, that went on for maybe an hour. I don't know how long I was running around. And then when the last kid had got out of the car, he's like, Mum, is everybody out of the car now? And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, so there's no one in the car with you now? And I said, no. And he's like, so you're alone. Can anyone hear us? And I'm like, Oscar, like,
Right.
what is, I thought he was going to tell me something really bad. And I'm like, oh, now you're, and he goes, Mum, just, you might want to pull over. I'm like, oh no, what is happening?
Yeah.
And so I pulled over and he's like, I go, what? Oh, so what? And he goes, I just wanted to tell you that I've just signed my first F1 contract. I'm like, oh my God. And I'm like, so what color are we wearing? Are we wearing like navy and pink? Because I'm thinking Alpine.
Right.
And he's like, no. I'm like, what color are you wearing? He's like, orange. And I'm like, oh my God, McLaren. Oh my God. Because that was totally new to me. I did not see that coming.
Right.
And I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. And then it dawned on me what that meant. And I was like, oh no, wait. Oh my God. And he's nodding. And I said, oh my God, Daniel, I love Daniel. And he's like, just deadpan. He's like, yep, everybody loves Daniel.
Yeah.
He goes, he's like, that's going to be a problem. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh man. Yeah. So that was how I found out about, him being an F1 driver.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was crazy.
Yeah. Everybody loves Daniel. It's such a great
Everybody loves
line. I mean, you couldn't have written that better.
Yeah.
And he actually said, he actually said, of all the F1 drivers ever, Daniel is the worst one to be replacing.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's right.
That's so funny.
Yeah. Oh my God.
And from
Yeah.
one
And then
Australian
you
to
know-
the other, and they're on opposite ends of the Australian archetypes, you know.
Polar opposite.
Yeah.
Like could not be more opposite in terms of personality. So there was
Right. Well,
big,
He's like
big
the
shoes to fill.
anti-Ricardo.
Definitely. In every way.
But you know
Right.
what? That was like one of the first things I noticed about Oscar. He's like he's giving representation to Australians that aren't like have
right.
the big, shoey personality like Daniel.
Yeah, he's definitely unique. He's
Mhm.
he's Australian in many ways, in that and he's just like, and he doesn't really care too much. But he's pretty unique.
You've laid claim to Yuki. I mean, in this F1 space, you clearly, Yuki's a fave. If Oscar, let's say like in the race, and Oscar's car DNFs, the mechanical
Engine.
thing craps out, like, who are you really gunning for, rooting for to do well in those races?
Okay,
where
well,
Oscar's not?
logistically, I think it has to be Lando, right?
Okay.
All right, forget Lando. Okay, after
Okay, so
Lando,
Lando's
who's
taken
next?
out.
After McLaren's
Double
After McLaren,
DNF.
yeah.
Double DNF.
double DNF,
Double
both
DNF.
McLarens are out. Who are you rooting
Okay,
for?
well,
failure.
I mean, definitely. I mean, there's so many options, isn't there? But definitely Yuki. Like, wouldn't you? I love. Like, there's Yuki. There's Daniel. I mean, I could give you a beautiful quality of every single driver, to be honest. But Yuki's up there. I just love when we watch the race, the girls and I. You know how they give you from home. They'll give you that. There's a few seconds warning when you know they're going to come on the radio.
Like a
Right.
bididoo?
So
Yeah.
So
2 seconds,
yeah.
Ted.
So you see their name, and so when it's
Yeah.
Yuki, we all go, "Oh, it's Yuki!"
Yeah.
Stop everything because
Yeah.
we know it's going to be gold.
Right.
So I just love you. There's Yuki, Daniel. I mean Alex Albon. He's like There's
that's when we had to reach out to you, because I'm like, I processed all the shirt orders. And I see Nicole
Right.
Piastri, and I go, this can't be the Nicole Piastri. And then I look at the
Yeah.
address. I'm like, okay, it's Melbourne. Okay.
Yeah.
And then I see Alex Albon. She's buying an Alex Albon shirt. What the hell is
Not
this?
Yeah, so my partner, Tim, loves Alex Albon. Like, and who doesn't?
Okay.
He's just divine. So he'll always be rooting for Oscar #1. But
Okay,
Alex
because
is
I was about to say, because if him and Alex are,
no,
taking
he'll
a
go
corner
Oscar,
together-
but Alex is a very close second.
Okay.
And so for Tim's birthday, I thought it'd be funny to get him an Alex Albon T-shirt. So I
Okay.
ordered it
I
from
see.
you guys,
Yeah.
and he loves
Yeah.
it.
Okay.
So that's how that came about. So that's Tim.
I see. Yeah, and you're rocking our Yuki merch
I've got
right
the
now.
Yuki.
You're
I
rocking.
love it. I wear it all the time.
Next clip is from our interview with Yuki Tsunoda, who will remain at VCARB next year, and then that's okay. And you know what? That's okay. That's okay.
Look at this cute guy.
That is a cute
That is
guy.
a cute guy.
I mean, when you see this picture of yourself, I mean, how old are you there?
I think I was 5. No, I think it just about started racing. I remember these blue suits actually. There was not funny, good moments, but like when a racing driver, when you take a shit, right?
Yeah.
When you take a shit,
Yeah.
you take a top part,
Yeah.
and you kind of roll down and put your suits around your knees.
Yes.
And I couldn't do it properly. I didn't do it perfectly well.
Okay.
And I shit. Okay, I had a good one. And when I stood up from the toilet and when I tried to wear it, I can smell it from behind. What's going on? Like something going on. And when I see the mirror, there's a shit on it. Shit on here and a little bit. And actually, I didn't roll it out. And actually, the shit just probably was kissing through the edge of the suit. Oh. Yeah. And that was not a good moment.
Oh my
And
God. Wait, so
it
is
just
before the
pops
race?
always
Is before
remind
the
me-
race or after the race?
Not this suit. Actually,
there's not
slightly even older.
So
than
wait,
that.
but wait, hold on. I need to know. Did you shit on your suit before the race or after?
Fortunately, it was practice. No. I think before race.
Now, did
Maybe.
you drive the race with the shitty suit?
I think so.
Wow.
That's
How
why-
did you do?
I mean, I probably won by miles away because probably the car
up
behind.
together?
Yes,
We grew up
yes.
together.
Wow, this is a crazy moment because
We grew up together. We got on the train to go to a basketball game.
Yeah.
we grew up in New York and we were taking a New York subway to deep in Brooklyn to go to this basketball game, and I was struggling.
Yeah.
And maybe I let out a fart that I thought was just a fart, and it was happened to be something more. And I'm on a train.
And we're on a train.
A
No.
train.
A packed train, rush hour train.
Yes.
And we're all, the whole team was like, man, it smells bad.
And
It
I'm like,
smells really bad.
yeah, New York City subways, right?
Yeah, massive one then.
Just a little bit goes a long way,
And then the smell just kind of followed us wherever. And Brian was like, I farted. That's it. I just ripped a hell of a fart. And I'm like, and we get out of the subway. We're in a new part of the city.
Yeah.
And the smell still followed us. And I was like, and Brian was like, yeah, it was a hell of a fart. I'm like, no fart just follows you.
Yeah.
And then we're in the gym. And then he gets subbed into the game. And
No,
he
I
plays.
started
You
that
started
game,
that
but I
game.
ran to the bathroom. I threw out my underwear, and I was like, "I'm starting in this game. I gotta play." I scored 4 points.
Yeah.
I scored 4 points. I did have some shit in my pants, and so I didn't know that we were connected in this way.
Yeah.
But I'm glad
Wow.
that we are.
Probably just lucky, no?
Yeah, it's luck.
You got 4 points.
Yeah. Look at
this.
I won.
Yeah.
you see the positive side of
Yeah.
everything, and that's something that we love about you.
So
Okay,
that's a killer instinct right there. That's a killer instinct. You don't let anything get in your way. Do you ever listen to your own radios and you're like, who is that guy?
Yeah. That's why I don't want to hear much about my radio spots. First 2 years. But yeah, who's that guy? Yeah, true.
Do you ever think
we love
you
your
love your
radios.
radios? Don't ever stop.
I mean,
we love them.
it was things I was doing probably since a young age,
Yeah.
like expressing myself. Probably even
Yeah.
if there was no radio, I was still probably shouting.
Yeah.
myself out.
We heard an interview where you were saying, it feels better to get it out. You can't hold it in. Better to just let it out. Is it? You don't like keeping things in?
It was the kind of approach I was doing
Yeah.
until Yeah, 3 years ago.
Yeah.
But actually, recently I kind of changed approach a little bit to focus more towards like useful stuff, useful feedback to the engineers, rather than, I mean, pressing a radio button and shouting to the engineers. Like, for them, it's unnecessary. So.
Right. You can shout without pressing the
I
button,
have a
guess.
thought.
Yeah.
Why don't you just press the radio and then just scream every terrible thing in Japanese? Then you get it out, and nobody can understand what you're saying.
Well, yeah, the English crowd won't
Yeah.
understand.
I've heard that Japanese curse words are not good.
No.
Yeah.
So it's amazing.
Yeah.
For me, I felt, there's words that you can express your feeling right now with just one word.
Yeah.
How useful it is.
Aren't they
And
all
it's so
like
short.
Aren't they all
Yeah.
like poop based? All the bad words.
Yeah, except kind of poop based.
Yeah.
Or just either like, I'll kill you, whatever. You know, it's like kind of bad words, but it's not really bad word for me.
Yeah.
After I heard that's such an amazing word from English. So.
Yeah, we had a Japanese fan explain this with it. He's like, he's got to curse in English. There's just no good Japanese curse words.
No, not at all.
So when you learned all these English curse words, was it like, did it feel like did it feel like a weight was lifted, or like the heavens opened?
I just probably in the karting, or until I learned English, I probably was saying something in Japanese in the helmet, but
What would you say in Japanese?
like kuso, for example. Kuso is like relative to that kind of shit.
Okay.
Like a poop, for example.
It just means poop.
Poop.
Okay.
Yeah. And,
Kuso?
but it doesn't feel much like
Right.
poop. It's just
Yeah.
what I'm talking.
Doesn't hit the same.
Yeah, I got
Exactly.
you.
And after I swear, like for example, F word or S word, just the frustration level. For example, until Japanese, my frustration level 20% reduced.
Right.
Yeah.
If I say F word, just 80% reduced. Amount of
It's the quickest way around the corner.
exactly. So
You're dumping weight.
yeah, 100%.
Yeah, exactly.
It's adding points of downforce.
Yeah.
Bankers, we are taking a break from this episode to talk to you about our newest sponsor, Chomps. Chomps is the perfect snack. It's my favorite snack to bring with me on race day. With 10 to 12 grams of protein per stick, it's a good source of protein and high quality protein at that. You got to make sure that what you're putting in your body, it's high quality, and with Chomps, it is. Also, 0 grams of sugar and 100% grass-fed and finished beef. That's what you're getting with Chomps. And on top of all that, it tastes good. Here's what I like to do. I like to bring a handful of Chomps, throw them in my backpack, go to the race so I can be nice and fueled. Don't get distracted by the booths and the funnel cake and all the stuff that's bad for you. You need a good, healthy snack because it's hot at these races. You want to make sure that you're fueled up and ready to go so that you can watch Lando Norris blow another start. Listen, but Chomps helps me get through those races. It helps me get through those races with their delicious, delicious sticks. And if you want to learn more, you can go to chomps.com/redflags. The link will be in the description. It's once again, chomps.com/redflags. Learn more and get your chomps today. Now back to the show. Vankas, specifically the male Vankas who listen and watch this pod. When you leave the house, it's phone, wallet, keys, and now, how does my hair look? But if you're experiencing hair loss, you may not be so confident when you step outside the door, and it's time to get that confidence back and restore your hair with Hims. Hims provides you with convenient and quality access to a range of hair loss treatments that work from the comfort of your couch. Hims makes treating hair loss simple with doctor-trusted options and clinically proven ingredients like finasteride and minoxidil that can regrow your hair in as little as 3 to 6 months. Choose from your personalized chewable, oral, spray, and serum treatments to find what works best for you. The process is simple and 100% online. There's no uncomfortable doctor visits. You know that it can be a little bit awkward. You just do it online and you get it done. You can start your free online visit today at hims.com/redflags. That's HIMS.com/redflags for your personalized hair loss treatment options. Once again, that's hims.com/redflags. Results may vary based on studies of topical and oral minoxidil and finasteride. Prescription products require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if a prescription is appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for full details and important safety information. This next clip is from our interview with Susie Wolff. Yeah. Ever heard of her? What do you remember from your first time meeting the one and only Gunther Steiner? What's your first memory of him?
Well, I didn't really know Gunther well. I remember when I watched Drive to Survive, initially I was like, wow, good looking
Who's this idiot?
Gunther.
Who is this idiot?
Wow. And then the funniest thing was when I joined F1 Academy and then got to start to know all the teams better, which I really appreciate now that I know different people that I just saw from a distance. I started to know them better. When I sat down with Gunther and Stuart and kind of explained it all, I remember Gunther saying to me, listen, this all looks great. I'm with you. I just tell you one thing. Don't come and ask me for money. Like, no. Don't worry, Gunther. We're not going to need any money. And then around 7 weeks later, I contacted him saying, for the Monaco Grand Prix, do you have time for a meeting, Gunther? He's like, yeah, of course I have time for a meeting. Come and see me. So we sat down and I said, you know, Gunther, that you said you would give me anything but just not to ask for money. He's like, yeah. I said, I'm going to have to ask you for some money now. But he supported every step of the way.
It's not about money until it's about money. You know that. It's always the same.
In
It's
Formula One,
always the
Gunther,
same.
in some way, it's
not
always about money.
It's all about money. But in the end, we got along very well and we found the money for Susie because I wanted to support it. You see?
And Gunther, and even when you'd left, I had to call Gunther because it was the Haas driver with Chloe Chambers on the podium. And it was
Exactly.
such a big success for Haas, and the whole team was at the podium celebrating, and it was such a moment that wouldn't
Susie,
have happened without you,
you
Gunther.
wonder why? Because we never had one.
Everyone was there.
Come on, you
Oh
know,
my
everybody-
God.
You said that, Gunther, not me.
The chef, the waitresses, everybody came there. It's a podium. We cannot believe it, you know. And unfortunately, I couldn't go there anymore, you know. Jesus, I missed out
But it
on
was
that one. You know.
down to your vision, Gunther.
Yeah,
That's right.
exactly. At least, you know. Yeah. Now I use glasses for my vision, you know. So.
Yeah.
We have a quiz here because as we talk with Gunther, sometimes Gunther talks very favorably of Toto. And sometimes we're like, it seems like Gunther's got a little bit of a man crush on Toto. So we wanted to quiz you guys on some Toto facts and see which of you knows more because, you know.
I hope she.
You might be.
I hope also me.
You might be married to the man, but the way that Toto talks about him, I mean, to the way that Gunther talks about him, sometimes I'm not sure. So, okay. How tall is Toto?
Gunther, do you want to try?
Yeah, Gunther, take a stab.
He's taller than me because he always tells me that, so he must be 8'4". 6'4", sorry, not 8'4", 6'4". You know?
6'4"?
Wow, 8'4". He looms
No,
large.
8'4".
Yeah, that's how you
Basketball,
view
yeah,
him,
basketball,
Gunther.
yeah.
But I think that's a good guess because I only know he's 196 centimeters, which must be what, like 6'3", 6'4"?
No, it's
All
more
right,
than
now
that because I'm 188.
centimeters, 2 feet, 6'4" and change.
Gunther knew.
Okay, 1 for 1. How many languages does Toto speak? Gunther?
Gunther.
6.
You see, I can see that there's a lot of adulation there because you've given him one extra language.
What?
He
From
only
what
speaks
we
Does he
5.
not speak?
From what we from our
It's
research,
not
what we
in
heard was that he speaks English, German, French, Italian, Spanish, and Polish. But what are
No,
are
no
you-
Spanish.
No Spanish.
No Spanish.
Get your weight up.
I thought he had culture. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. yeah.
He's illiterate. If he doesn't speak 6... Oh, moron, yeah. Jesus
Spanish,
Christ.
one of the most popular languages. Okay. What's his favorite kind of bread, Gunther?
Fuck it. What's his say? It's...
Well, you'll only notice if you watch Drive to Survive. Gunther.
No, I don't watch it. No, so I guess it's some dark rye bread or something like Austrians. I mean, eat that stuff, you know.
This is getting scary now. You're right. It's pumpernickel.
I
See,
didn't watch
Susie,
Drive to
we
Survive
told
yet.
you. We told you.
Yeah, I'm starting to get worried.
Yeah.
Okay, what
You
is
bad dog.
what is Toto's astrological sign?
I have no idea.
Well, do you know when his birthday is?
No, I don't know. I hardly remember my one, by the way. I'm sure. I always have to write my wife's down because otherwise I forget that one. And I got my daughter's one wrong one time, and she was not impressed by that, you know. So, what could he be? I don't know. I'm not into to this stuff, so I just say he's a virgin.
No, he's January, so I think he's what's January? Aries?
No,
he's
Aries is April because it's me. So
Oh no,
that's
yeah,
the only
Aries
thing
is
I
my
know.
son.
He's
a Capricorn,
Capricorn.
which actually is the sign that of astrological signs of CEOs. Capricorn is
And a lot of bullshit goes with it, but anyway, so.
All right, Gunter, you did pretty well there. So Susie, I think you should watch out, be on the lookout.
Not let him too close by.
Especially especially when he goes off to do his German interviews on the race weekends.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I need to
You
take care.
learned German just so you could understand what those two are saying to each other.
Yeah, that there's no secret language.
Yeah, exactly.
This is from our epic interview with Scotty James, brother-in-law to Lance Stroll.
You meet Chloe, you guys get together, like, what's that first kind of sit down with Lawrence like? Like when you're dating, like if you're dating, I mean, talk about like the most intimidating father-in-law that you could possibly have in the world. Like you are up like in the top 1% of like intimidating fathers-in-laws.
Yeah.
Like what was that first
Who's
kind of
more intimidating? I can't even think of one.
More intimidating?
He's like the most intimidating man in the world.
Yeah.
it appears to me. Obviously,
He's
you
like
have a different
nightmare of I can't even think of. I literally I'm not.
We did and when we were in high school, we grew up with John McEnroe's daughter was a good friend of ours,
right?
And so we did a sketch show our senior year
of like how scary would it be?
And so we did a sketch show, and we were like, Emily, we asked her to be like a part of it, and we were like, could we do a sketch? Would John be open to doing a sketch where like one of us is taking you to prom, and like you're getting ready, and he's like grilling you about like what are your intentions with my daughter. So we filmed this thing with John McEnroe,
and he was like grilling us,
and he lived up to the moment. Like we were like terrified.
He understood the assignment.
He crushed it. He improv'd, and he was just like,
and he was like he came late from like
he was at a Met game.
He was at a Met game. He showed up late.
Yes,
and then and Brian was trying to make small talk with him and was like, "Hey, John, like, how was the Met game?" He goes, "I don't know. I had to leave early." And we were like,
he's like, to come
do this,
to come
stupid
film
thing
this thing with you guys,
to come meet you.
So
and
like,
it was
what
like
are we
on
doing?
Extra innings, which means it was like exciting. And they had to miss it. And he was wearing like a tie-dye shirt,
a Jimi Hendrix experience,
because he's into like music and stuff, but it didn't look adult. And so I was like really scared. So I went to his daughter and was like, do you think you could wear like something a little more adult? And he was like, "Dad, Matt hates your shirt. Change it." And I was like, "Oh,
he looked at us like,
God.
Who the fuck are these kids in my home?"
So good.
So yeah, we were just intimidating, pretending to date his daughter. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You were actually doing it.
Yeah. What was that first meeting like?
So the first one was quite funny because it was in a lot of milestones actually in Melbourne, but it was in Melbourne during the race, and Chloe and I had been seeing each other so January, February, March. The race is always around March, so 2.5 months.
Okay.
At that point, and I was just this Scott guy.
Right.
That was it. Actually, I don't even think the name was in the equation. Right. I was just a guy.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
Yeah. Well, 2 months in, it's this is early days.
Just a guy.
Yeah.
Even if you heard the name 10 times, still a guy.
Yeah.
And we were. I remember it because it was before either quali or the race, one of the two. And in those moments, like naturally, everyone's pretty intense. And he was sitting we were at the hospitality. I walked over and I kind of walked past, and I wasn't going to actually go and say hi to Chloe. And she's sitting with her mum, Claire Ann.
Yeah.
And she's lovely. And she like saw me and waved me down. She's like, come over and sit with us. And like, I saw him in the corner, so I didn't know what to do. And Chloe didn't tell me to come. So I'm like, oh shit, like, I don't know what to do here. So I walk over and I sit at the table, and Chloe's here. I think Claire Ann's there.
My heart is in mine. My heart is pounding.
Yeah, my palms are sweating.
I'm like, man, he's here today, so he's fine.
Directly, but like just kind of off this way. Like not enough that if I was looking straight forward, Lawrence was in front of me. It was kind of like in this direction.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was speaking to Chloe and I was speaking to Claire, and every time I'd speak to her, I'd see him there, but he had his aviators on, the famous.
Yes!
You didn't know where he was looking.
Yes!
Had the famous aviators on.
Yeah.
And he was in a meeting, but he was just kind of like looking forward.
Mm-hmm.
So he could have been looking at you, maybe.
But I don't know. So I don't want to. Now I know him. He wouldn't have been. Or maybe, I don't know. But if he was, he was looking straight fucking. I was just not even in the equation.
So this wasn't. You didn't actually meet him.
So
at that moment,
you get there, and then this thing happens, and I remember like hitting Chloe. I'm like, your dad's like staring at me, like death staring me.
yeah.
And she looks at him and she goes, "Oh no, he's not. He's not even looking at you."
You'd be dead if that was
right.
You'd be dead if
And
he was
then
staring at
the
you.
race happened. It went really well, and then we met for the first time. I said hello, but that was the first time.
Right. What's the handshake like? What's a Lawrence Stroll handshake? What's the vibe?
Depends who you are.
Okay.
Well, if he's you, let's say he's you.
I'm hugs.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Hug stage.
Yeah.
Okay.
We bypassed the handshake.
Okay.
Now.
But that first time, like you're dating my daughter. What?
Did he-
Like
did he-
what
Yeah,
is
it was this one,
Yeah.
and then natural progression was like this.
Right.
Yeah.
Dab it up.
Yeah.
We're getting
Like
there.
one arm
Yeah.
hug.
Yeah, and then now he just
No, he's just full hug.
just a good hug.
Yeah.
He looks
Good
like he'd
arm.
give a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, great hug.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
This is from our time with Will Buxton.
We got to get into this NBC little era of your career, and most specifically,
Importantly, Florida Winter
most
Series.
importantly, that you competed in the Florida Winter Series.
Yes.
Why do people not talk about first of all, why don't you talk about this every day? Because
I do, but I just bore people with it.
now
it was-
this is your opportunity. For those of you who don't know,
Yes.
Will motherfucking Buxton raced against Max Verstappen in his first year in cars.
Not only Max Verstappen,
Nicholas Latifi.
Lance Stroll, Nicholas Latifi, to name, 3 future Formula One drivers, and amongst like a wildly impressive, Antonio Fuoco, there was a lot of people in this.
Ed Jones, Tatiana Calderon. Yeah, great list of drivers.
Yes.
So this was
Dennis
this
Van
was
Laar,
kind of done
yeah.
as what, like a bit, like it was like, oh, like Will's always wanted to be an F1 driver, like let's throw him in the cars. He's never driven these cars before, and then let's see how he does.
So the head of communications and marketing at Ferrari was really, really smart cookie and realized that NBC were getting the rights to Formula One, and let's do something let's put Will in our junior academy for this winter training ground that we've got for young drivers, despite the fact that Will is at that point I was 33. It's a decade ago. 33 years of age. Come out here and race these up and coming potential future talents. Yeah. And Max was literally straight out of karts. He was 16, I want to say 16, 15, 16.
So you guys were equal in experience in cars, pretty much.
In single seaters,
Yes.
Max had done. I think he'd done a wet test at Pembury, and that was about it. Turn up, and
How much training did Ferrari Academy give you before you
not
turn
a lot.
up?
So nothing, literally nothing. A friend of mine had a rig at his house, so I went and I drove a couple of laps of the track that I was going to drive, and then we went out there and I got in the simulator and tried it, and I'm braking 100 meters before I should. I'm not taking any speed through the corners. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't have a clue. I've never driven a single seater really before. So it was my first practice session. I think I was either 17 or 18 seconds off the pace. And then you're like, shit, okay. Second practice, I cut that down to about 9 seconds. Third practice, I was down to about 7 seconds. And then my drive shaft went. So, I didn't get to qualify, which meant that I should have been on reverse grid pole for the second race. And they were like, do you just want to start from the back? I was like, yeah, I'll start from the back. Anyway, it was run by Luca Baldesseri, who was Michael Schumacher's race engineer. So he's, he knows his stuff. He's been there. And it was all open data. So you could see whatever anybody else was doing, what the drivers were doing. And, you got to see Max's overlays against, and some of these guys were like the cream of Formula 3 at the time. And here comes this precocious little brat out of karts. And he was quicker than all of them, and he was doing things with the car, and he was doing things through the corners that none of them could replicate. And he pissed a lot of people off, because I think for some of them at that point, they were like, they saw the writing on the wall. Now this kid is here. My future is going to look very, very different, because I thought I was the best, but I can't do what this kid does. And he has no experience, and I've got a bit. And it was, he put.
So there was a buzz around him immediately.
Straight away. And it was obvious. It was just obvious. You just needed to watch his onboards, look at his data traces. It's a freaking magician.
But Will, one race, it seems, one event, it seems like you finished 10th and he finished 7th. So it feels like you were only 3 places behind him, according to Wikipedia.
Yeah, but I think that also equates to a lap. I did beat Latifi, though.
Yes,
on merit.
I'm going to say.
You did.
Yeah, I beat Latifi in a wet race, and I was still on slicks, and he finished behind me. And I remember when he signed for Williams, and the announcement was made that he signed for Williams, and we were in a club, and at the end of the season in Abu Dhabi, and he was up like in his little VIP little area, and I went up to him and I was like, congratulations, and he was like, thanks so much, man, I can't wait for next year. And I was just like, listen, I'm just going to say this now, because I won't say it next year, but just remember, I beat you. And he was just like, yeah, fuck off. So that was great. And but yeah, Lance was my teammate, and was really lovely, and 10 years ago. But you look at it, you think back 10 years, February 2014 is when it happened. In that 10 years, you look at what Max has done. Completely changed the game. Yeah. It's astonishing in just 10 years.
Big news, Venkas. I am going to be stoned for all of 2025. Yeah. All of it. The entire year. And to celebrate, we are running a monster giveaway where you could win a year of free THC and Delta 9 products, Almost Friday merch, and a unique Almost Friday experience. What could that be? All you have to do is click on the link in the description below, fill out 2 to 3 questions on how you like to get high on the weekends, and you are good to go. We are giving away free shit for an entire year. Let me repeat, a year's worth of items, and it's made really easy for you to enter the giveaway. But here's what you have to do. You have to be 21 or over to enter. You have to fill out a quick, short survey, and you've got to love just having a good time. And hey, you listen to the Red Flags pod, you listen to Vanka Hours, what more of a good time do you need? Go and enter, and we'll see you on the other side, Vankas. All right, now back to the show. This next clip is from our interview with one David Coulthard.
This moment here, an iconic moment in F1 history that we wish would happen more, that the guys fight off track, or that they try to just big up you in the paddock.
Where's he headed? Where's he headed?
He's coming to say hello to me.
Yeah. This is Michael Schumacher after your crash in Belgium in 1998.
Do you think he looks angry? Or just disappointed?
He looks determined to do something.
When you see him, Terminator. I mean, you guys are two Terminators looking gentlemen, to the both of you. Are you like, okay, let's, are you fight or flight mode? Did you have your hands up? Like, what's going through your mind as Michael Schumacher's charging at you?
Well, I remember there was a wall of McLaren mechanics between me and him. And one of those mechanics, his name was Steve Morrow. Sadly, he's no longer with us, but his nickname was Forklift. And anyone who knows what a forklift is, he was a big guy. And I'm thinking, hey, Michael, I had my helmet on, and I remember shouting back at him. He's shouting at me, were you trying to fucking kill me? And I'm shouting back at him, you ran into the back of me. So it was the aggressive exchange rather than I'm going to run away. Yeah. I'm not a fighter, look, and I don't think Michael would have fought. I think he would have got a hold of me, maybe by the scruff of the neck, and we would have, exchanged our opinions. But look, he was an amazing champion, an amazing driver. This was an unfortunate blip in our relationship. We kissed and made up, and what it has done, it guaranteed me a place in the Schumacher documentary, and it always gets brought up every year we go to Spa. Yeah. But what was incredible, Michael with no front wing and 3 wheels was still incredibly quick in the wet. That's how talented he was. And actually, you can't see, but behind this wall, I've got a collection of different helmets from drivers that I've raced against. And one of them's from Michael. And he wrote on it, so many great battles on track, some of them harder than others. So many great parties off track. Enjoy retirement, because I've retired before he did. And so I cherish those thoughts and those memories, because, you go into battle, but it's a bit like the boxers, isn't it? They beat the hell out of each other, and then they hug and say nice things about their family.
Right.
So is that, I mean, just for people who are who get into fights, I mean, I think this is a lesson. I mean, how do you kiss and make up after something like that? I think people want to know how do you conflict resolution something like this.
Yeah. Well, that was the Sunday of the Belgian Grand Prix. On the Tuesday, we're in Monza testing ahead of the Italian Grand Prix, which would have been 2 weeks later or 1 week later. I don't recall exactly, but certainly, the coming week or the week later. And there was banners in the grandstand that Italian fans had made up, the Tifosi, that said "Killer Coulthard." And every time I pulled out of the garage, they were booing. And if I walked to talk to my engineer, they were, it was pretty enthusiastic dislike.
That's pretty cool. I would adopt that. Killer Coulthard. That's pretty good. That's pretty dope, honestly.
Yeah. So what was clear from that, it was an uncomfortable 2 or 3 days of testing. And Bernie Ecclestone found out, and when we turned up at the Italian Grand Prix, he organised for us to sit down in his motorhome and clear the air, just Michael and I. And that's where the conversation was born out of me going, Michael, look, I accept my part in that accident. You've got to accept yours. He wouldn't accept it. And I asked him, surely you must be wrong sometime. And he went, no. And I went, come on, when you're at home with your wife, you must be wrong. He went, nope. And have you ever been wrong? And he paused and went, not that I remember. Yeah. And at that point, I just gave up and went, right, that's why he's a world champion and I'm not, because I know when I'm wrong.
That's wild.
Amazing. That's
so
great.
He accepted your apology, but then
we
was
shook
just
hands
like,
and moved on. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
This is from our interview with Lawrence Barretto.
I mean, you have these moments, but you were talking about, like, you got to interview Lewis early days, and you and him clearly have like a friendly relationship, because there was this clip of early on this season where he was.
I know what you're
Talk
going to say.
about moments where you felt like you were going to shit yourself. Like, did you when you were like, so Lewis, we're here. Like, how you feeling about today? And he was like, you ranked me pretty low in your drivers rankings. Now, here's the thing, Lawrence, you're looking like your ranking was correct right now. So
that's true. Yes, thanks for pointing that out. I appreciate that. Thank you.
But in that moment, like, did you when he throws a curveball at you like that, does your stomach just fall to the floor? Did you feel like cool, calm, and collected in that moment?
Oh, absolutely not cool, calm, and collected. Like, I just got owned by Lewis Hamilton on international television. It was he was in such a good mood that day as well, which was funny, because he was jokey as he was coming up, and we were having a bit of chit chat beforehand. And I was like, oh, this is, normally he's got game face on at that point on the driver's parade. And then when he said it, obviously, like, time stood still. And then I've watched it back, and it happened much quicker than it happened in my head. I remember looking across and looking at my producer like, what's happened? And this will happen in like super time. And to be honest, he could have completely gone in on me and gone, well, why did you do it? But he didn't. He stopped, which was nice of him. But you're right. I got it right. P7. That's where, I said he was P7.
I mean, he's
Lawrence,
in P9 right now.
He's
in P9 right now. Right now, you're being generous to the guy.
If he finishes P8, P9, Lawrence, are you going to shove it back in his face? Be like, turns out I was nice to you.
I was thinking about, that final driver's parade, if I get the chance to do it, if I do mention it, it's going to be hard not to, right, guys? How can I not bring it up? Like,
I mean, the internet would love it. The internet would love it.
Here's the other thing.
Listen, he's going to win a championship with Ferrari. He's good. He's chilling.
Yeah. And
he probably
so how do
is,
you balance? How do you balance? Because we just say whatever we want, and then like years later, we meet some of these guys. And we're like, oh my god! But like, you actually have a relationship with these guys,
right?
So how do you balance your journalistic integrity with keeping a good relationship with these guys and like asking the questions that fans want to hear and knowing that you might piss these guys off? How do you balance that?
It's tricky. I think what I try to do is just always be fair. So even if I ask like a really tough question or a question that annoys them at the time, if I'm being fair and it's a fair question to ask, then I think they'll always not forgive you, but they won't take it personally and they won't like hold it against you kind of going forward. I think my experience or of seeing maybe other people interviewing, or if I've made an error in something that I've said, is I think drivers or any athlete you interview, they get annoyed if you just say the wrong thing, or you're trying to coax them into saying something they don't want to say, or you're trying to get a headline. And so my technique is never that. My technique is to ask the questions that people want to hear. And sometimes that's a tough question. You can ask a hard question fairly. And so that's what I try to do. But you're right. I talk to these guys 4 or 5 times a weekend, and then that's every other weekend across the year. So I've got to kind of maintain a relationship. But what I'm super lucky about is because I'm doing 18, 19 races this year. Because you spend that time with them and they get to trust you. And if they trust you and you build that relationship, if you have a bad day and you ask a question that maybe isn't right at the time, they're not mostly going to hold it against you because they know you're good. They know that they can trust you. They know that you're only trying to do your job, and that, you know, sometimes I'm interviewing 20 drivers and I don't get to look up or down for like 20 straight minutes because it's one guy comes, then leaves, then the next one comes in, and they get that like sometimes people make mistakes. So I haven't been owned that often in my career. I've been pretty lucky, I think.
Well, yeah. There are some other times where you've been like, oh fuck, like this guy, like, you know, the Lewis one. What was nice about that is like he was cheeky about it. It was like more of a fun moment than anything. Like what are some moments, you know, maybe with some guys that maybe are retired, you can talk maybe a little bit more freely about?
Well, no, to be honest, no one has ever like massively had a go at me. I know that's a bit disappointing, but no one's massively had a go at me. But like Nico Hülkenberg, who hasn't retired yet, is one of the really tough interviews I find, because he likes to play with you. He likes to try and trip you up because it's fun for him. It's like sport for him when he's being interviewed, especially if it's someone new. He kind of just wants to test the water, see like how back chatty he can be. Not in a nasty way, just in like he wants to see if he can trip you up. So Nico Hülkenberg is definitely one of the tougher ones to interview. Like the other day, I interviewed Lando and I said to him, well done on his top 10 when he was in his top 3, and he instantly picked me up on it, right? And I'm like, well, actually, factually, what I said was correct because he was in his the top 10. But like, it's little things like that you make slip ups because you're doing things so quickly, and you know these kind of things happen.
With ESPN's Nate Saunders.
Nate, can you rank handshakes?
Well, I was going to say Lewis's handshake is similar. So Lewis, when I think it was my first race in the paddock, was Sochi, or my second race actually, Sochi 2016. I was part of a round table with Lewis, and he hadn't met me before, and 2 other journalists, so we kind of shook our hands. And he shook my hand so hard, I like looked at the other 2, and I was like, and for the rest of the interview, I was like, that was the hardest, like, wasn't like mean. It was just, I hadn't expected it from an F1 driver, and it just was so, and he like looked at, like, clamped on and looked at me like straight in the eyes, and I was like, oh wow, okay. Drivers tend to have pretty good handshakes. I don't know whether it's just because the nature of, you've kind of got to put that look on, haven't you, of always being kind of, I don't know if it's a macho thing. I don't know if it's kind of a, like, if I'm meeting Fred Vasseur, if I am meeting the president of Ferrari, you want to have a good handshake. Because a lot of people, they remember, like you said there, like Matt, they remember the handshake, don't they, before anything else. So I'm trying to think if there's been any particularly bad ones. I can't think of it. So that probably speaks to the fact there aren't any super bad handshakes in Formula One.
I feel like Lance Stroll would give a disinterested handshake.
Yeah, I'm sure. I feel like Lance Stroll would kind of give a weak handshake. He wouldn't maybe look. He'd look you in the eye for like a second. He's like, all right, can I go snowboarding so I can be happy, please?
Yeah, can I get out of here?
I feel like George Russell would kind of pull you. I feel like George Russell, he's so long.
He would do the Trump pull.
He would do the Trump pull.
Yeah, like the pull like, in and out.
The yank.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if they're like, I feel like out of all of them, I don't think I've shaken Max's hand. I'd love to know what Max's handshake is like, because I feel like it'd just be like, yeah, cool, what are you doing? Like, I don't think, of all the people who wouldn't care about what their handshake is like,
right?
I feel like Max is that guy. He just wouldn't.
I don't think it would be a good handshake.
Yeah.
No, and he wouldn't care. Like, he's not going to be like, oh, that, you know. He's like, I don't care if you don't like my handshake. Like, you know, whatever. Like, it's not what I'm about.
His eye contact when we did interview him once was the most intense thing I've ever experienced in my life, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know if you've experienced that.
He did look into the depths of my soul and said, "So what are we doing today? What are you doing with my time this afternoon?"
Yeah, and honestly, Max is like that. And sometimes if you're in a round, like one of our round table sessions with him, sometimes you can start asking a question, and Max can look at you like so intently, you can almost lose the kind of the train of your question. You're suddenly like, oh man, because it just feels like he's glaring at you, and he might not be. He's either just trying to listen or he's just focusing. Right. But that's happened to me on a number of occasions with Max, and I'm just like, and you have to kind of, look around the room just to kind of be like, what was the question? Like, what am I saying here? Yeah. And why is Max looking at me like that now? Like, what have I said? Like, have I said something wrong? So yeah, he's like that, and and it's actually interesting. And like to go back to Alonso, he's one for, he will look around the room quite a lot, and he does still look at you, but he will look at you when he's kind of, the point Alonso's trying to make, because that's the moment when he gives you the eye contact. He'll talk like this and kind of look around, and then the moment he kind of looks up at you, you're like, this is kind of where the question has been leading to, is kind of this point. I've always found that, maybe not so much on TV, but if you're in a huddle with him, that's kind of where that goes.
Right. This is from our interview with the Ruth Buscombe. But like that first year, like, the expectations, were on, people were not expecting anything. And then, you guys finish 8th in the Constructors' Championship, this new team. I mean, what was like, what was the whole vibe of that? Like the the image of it in our heads is like the ragtag thing. Gunter's like putting this, it's by the, he's taping things together, and we're just trying to make this thing work. We're Frankensteining this team. And then there was such great results that year.
Yeah, I mean, like it was a lot. Like we, putting together a new car, like a new team, is a lot of work. And like I kind of like bearing in mind, I'd been spoiled really by like starting in a very big, very well funded team. Like when I got there and I was like, oh, where's my second screen? And they're like, who are you? Get out. Like you have one screen. Work with your screen. Like who's this posh girl? And I'm like, I'm from the East End of London. I'm not posh. I just thought everyone had 2 screens. It was like, but I think like the camaraderie that we had for that like first race was so special, and genuinely, like, the race in Australia where we scored points by staying out under that safety car, changing tires under the red flag.
Let's go.
Was really special, and like that, it was a real kind of, it felt like almost like being back in time, like the way that like Formula One was. Maybe when you talk about people that are like kind of in their 50s and they're talking about how it was back in the day, like very briefly at the beginning, because it's such a small team in terms of like the things that we did, and there was so few people right at the very beginning. But it was crazy. Like I mean, I slept on the floor the day before the race, because by the time I finished work, I had like an hour before I had to come back. So I like just slept on all the like the pit stop overalls that all the guys were going to wear the next day, which are brand new. So they were brand new. So they hadn't been opened. Right. I just put them out on the floor and just like had a nap, and then like kind of, like Axe body sprayed myself and woke up and did the race. And then, like I was saying like the actual day itself was like, it was my first ever race at track, like my first ever race as a head of race strategy. And then like, I'm there like doing everything on my own. So like if there was a deep end, it was like the Pacific. At that time I was like on the pit wall for the grid, and like, we were using new software, everything was new, and I just couldn't, it wasn't working. And I was like, we nearly didn't have any data for the race. And it's like, you're getting these like countdown, like 10 minutes to go, like 8 minutes to go. And I was like, oh my goodness. Like, 'cause I already like look wrong, because I'm like, way younger than the rest of the head of strategy, like very blonde at the time. Like, this is it. This is like, it's over before it's begun. My entire career is over. Like trying to find this bug. And then, the formation lap starts and everyone starts running back. And bearing in mind, we're right at the end of the pit lane, so you can see people on the horizon running back to you. And then it was an aborted start. thank the Lord. So I got 2 more minutes to find my bug, found the bug, it all, oh, look at that. Look at that. It's gone.
Look at that.
And
That was the exact vibe that you were feeling.
Yep, and I've been able to do it. And then the guys, because there was so much to do, they hadn't actually had a chance to do pit stop practice at all. Because a lot of them were like brand new, it was their first time in Formula One, or like they'd maybe done it like a year before, but like they hadn't done it. And so like that race was a 1/2, and everyone was like, fewer stops, Ruth, fewer stops. And then we had a DNF with one car, Gutti, who had a crash that actually brought out the red flag. And then with Roman, we changed the tires on the grid. So like on the TV, everyone's chanting no stops because they didn't actually have to do a pit stop, which is great because they hadn't actually practiced pit stops at all because everything was so late to do it. But it was like a real special. It really, like, you know, when you listen to the audio for that, like I we all talk about it. We would like, you know, meet up and say like how special it was, because it really did feel like we'd won the world championship. And obviously we became sixth, and then the next race in Bahrain, actually it was the qualifying rule that we spoke about before. Again, I think because, you know, maybe I just like didn't know how to fear. Like I was like the equivalent of like, you know, like a rookie and in love, you know, so you don't know what to worry about. The kind of, I'd worked out that the soft tires were so soft that we didn't want to go through to the Q3, because at the time it was like the kind of like, was slightly different, like top 8, and if we saved a new set of tires and did like soft, we'd actually be like really fast in the race, which we did. So like Roman like lifted, we didn't go through to Q3, which meant that we saved the set of tires and we got to start on this like new set of tires. Then we did like an extra stop to other people, and got into P5, which again, that felt like a huge, just like crazy situation. And they forgave me for doing more stops because they'd had time to do practice at that point. But yeah, it was really special, crazy, but really special, and something I'm very proud that I was part of.
What was Gunter like as a boss? You talked about Fred. What was especially that year, like what was Gunter's vibe? How, you know?
I mean, I think so. Bearing on the timeline of this is 2016. I kind of said, oh, you know, he's like this, and people were like, really? Like, he doesn't seem like that. And then the first series of Netflix came out, and how he is in the first series of Netflix, so many people were like, oh, I remember you saying so. Yeah, basically, I think the first series, the first series of Netflix is a complete accurate representation of, like, you know, that was exactly what he was like all the time. So that was like a very loud man. Very different to Fred. In terms of the character. You know, like if you have like the Seb Kimi spectrum, maybe we could make it like the Gunter Fred spectrum of.
Sure. The next clip is from our interview with the CEO of McLaren F1 team, Zachary Brown.
You're really good at like when, you know, the car's not working, you put it in the wind tunnel, you seem to be able to slap new parts on. When there's a mistake or something, like what's the human wind tunnel in management? You know,
Andrea is such a great leader. He's very calm. He doesn't react in the moment. It's so easy in Formula One to react in the moment. So it keeps everyone calm. Everything's kind of a learning. I'm kind of bouncing up and down on pit wall. I try and pretend like I'm not, but I just look at him and he's always okay. That's how I'm supposed to look calm. And, but no, I think just keeping the team, he's got a great phrase, you know, don't eat the poison biscuits. And, you know, there's so much politics in this sport. People are lobbing politics in. Sometimes you get them in your own organization. I think he's done a wonderful job keeping the poison biscuits outside of McLaren, because, you know, you see some other teams where they get some turmoil and friction going and it can start to pull the team back. So that's what's critical for us, is keeping the culture, the environment, the teamwork in place.
Do you want to?
Well, you're bringing that American culture to Formula One, which we love. Gunter also we view as he's an American citizen. But we've got a little quiz today for the both of you. See which of you is more American.
More American?
Yeah.
That's right.
This is gonna be close.
So, question number 1. What car do you drive? Both of you answer. We'll decide which one is more American.
Toyota Tundra.
I'm a car collector.
Yeah.
So, of course, I have some McLarens.
Of course.
So if we discount that, because that's the obvious answer, I would say my favorite car to drive is a Porsche 959.
Okay.
So I guess I win that one.
I think-
if I've got
I
the
think-
smaller car,
I think-
I guess even if I've got the cheaper
I-
car,
I
I mean,
think-
I win. I won this one by miles. You know. This I gave you a lap on this one. You know,
Okay,
yeah.
that goes
yeah.
to Gunther.
Lap down. Lap
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
Zach
Okay.
is a lap down.
Next question. How do you take your coffee?
With milk, but of course you call it white
Yeah.
in England. But because this is an American thing, I'm going to say with milk.
I take an espresso.
There we go.
One
That's-
all. It's tied up.
That's a
Neck and
tied
neck.
up. Okay. Indy 500 or the Monaco GP? Same weekend.
Yeah.
I've been at Indy the last 2 years.
I was in Indy this year and wasn't impressed by it, so I go for Monaco. Even if I lose, even if I lose.
I'm glad that they're changing it because I want to go to both.
Yeah.
Right. Are they switching it up?
Because Canada's moving.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
now, because
right.
it's always a nightmare. So
Right.
my view is because I'm my personal goal and team goal, I want to win Le Mans, Indy, and
Yeah.
Monaco. And so we've finished second out of the last 3 years in Indy. So it's like, I'm going to go to Indy, get that win out of the
Yeah.
way. Now, all of a sudden, we're qualifying on the front row at Monaco. And it's like, oh, now what? So my biggest fear is not being at one of those races and winning it.
Yeah, we got to get Pato over that finish line.
Yeah.
Next, favorite kind of pizza?
Margarita.
Pineapple.
There we go.
That on purpose, just to win, you know.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Okay, next, favorite. What's your pasta order?
Fettuccine Alfredo.
Gunther?
Pomodoro.
No, even the way you said it. Knows the name.
Exactly. When he says fettuccine alfredo, what does that bring up for you, Gunther? Okay, what's your favorite band?
Oh, you got Kiss there. Kiss. Hall & Oates.
Okay.
My American favorite band.
No,
Any
just favorite
favorite
band.
band?
Taylor Swift.
My favorite band. You too.
A good band.
You too?
Hall & Oates.
Hall & Oates.
Yeah,
It's like the biggest
but-
duo of all time.
but you're just trying to make points here, you know.
No,
You're just taking the
John
opportunity.
Oates is a buddy.
Yeah, you know, you're just taking this opportunity because you got upset because I said to you, are you not upset not winning the Drivers' World Championship? Yeah.
He wants to win. All right, guys.
Okay.
You got to be quick.
Now this one you got to be quick. First to finish the quote wins. Okay. 4 score and
4 scored 7 years.
No, that one. I pass on
It's
this
Abraham
one.
Lincoln.
Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah, no,
7 years ago.
Close
Yes,
enough.
okay.
That goes to Zak
that goes to Zach.
Man.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, good.
This is from JFK.
I think he won. I think we can stop it
Yeah.
here. You know, you don't need me. He lapped me now.
No, we got to
seven-
know if you know these quotes. These are
Jesus
important,
Christ,
Gunther.
yeah.
I know that you passed your
Oh,
American
I'm
citizenship
going
test.
now. I give you
Have
passport back.
you ever passed your American citizen test?
I cheated. Like everybody else does, you know.
Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your
country.
Country,
There
oh,
we
yeah, but yeah, I mean,
You know who that was?
yeah.
Who?
No, I don't know who it was.
JFK.
JFK, okay.
Okay, and
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this
Wall. You know
That
who
was,
said
that was a fun finish. That was a fun
You know who
finish.
said that? Reagan.
Yeah.
okay, and the last one said by Tom Cruise in this movie. I feel the need for
Speed.
Gunther.
I lost.
Get out.
Gunther.
Get out. Get out.
But wait, I go and get my passport.
He might have an American flag in his office at his home, but oh my God, Gunther, you just got that was a McLaren versus Haas performance right there.
I won the first lap. That was Haas last year. You know, the first lap.
They
we
ran out of
repeated.
tires, as
exactly,
usual,
yeah.
right?
After one lap, yeah.
Liam Lawson, now Red Bull driver, back when he was just a mere little reserve.
But you read about like Michael Schumacher. He used all the old tires that people threw away and stuff like that, and builds these. It makes you actually, if you can make it, it makes you a better driver for it.
100%. It made such a difference. Like in the very first few years of racing, my first couple of years of go-karts, I finished last in every single race. Wow. I was at the very back of the field every time, and my dad actually thought I sucked. When I started, my dad was just didn't think. I didn't know this at the time.
Just have fun out there.
Yeah, he was like, I'd be complaining Dad, the motor sucks. I cannot.
Right.
But I'm 7 years old, so my dad's like, yeah, I know, Liam. It's okay. We'll get one eventually. But he genuinely thought I sucked. And then it wasn't for probably a year and a half of go-karting before he got sick of me complaining, and he bought these 2 really good motors and spent like loads of money on these 2 motors. And I remember like bolting this thing on for qualifying at this like national event, and just like looking at him like, well, this is the moment. Like, this is where we find out. Yeah. And
whoa, the rubber met the road for you. How old?
8 years old.
So he was like, if I don't put this P1, like I'll have to shut up.
And I'd literally qualified and raced by like the field would go away and I would just be on my own at the back. And I went from that. We put this motor on and I qualified pole.
Wow.
In this race. Wow. And it was like, I couldn't believe it. Like, it was unbelievable. And that was the moment where karting got a lot more expensive for my dad.
You're like, I told you, pay up.
But that's when it got serious.
Right.
And it made such a difference. So, like, battling for every single, like, just trying to hang on to the field and, like, racing all the guys at the back for years and just trying to hang on with absolutely no gear made such a difference.
But it showed you, but it also showed that like you loved it, like because you would do it in last place.
Yeah,
you didn't have to be in first.
No, I hated it. Like I would do it, but I hated it. Like
of course.
Yeah.
But only someone who really loved it would put up with that
for that long, maybe.
Yeah. And I want to get back to like, so you talk about gratitude and like how you were able to be like, I'm in an F1 car. I'm in an F1 car. You do fantastic. And then, in Drive to Survive, we all saw, they were reverting back to Daniel and Yuki. And, you could tell you were pissed. You kind of broke the internet when you were like, it should have been me. It's meant to be me. And by the way,
you make honestly, it's,
it was the most affecting part of this series.
Got into the sport through Drive to Survive. People talk about people have their criticisms of Drive to Survive. At its best, it feels like it gives an honest portrayal of people. And I feel like I felt like I got a real sense of like who you were on that show, because you were just like, felt like you were just yourself. You were like all of the emotions, and it was really, I think, it endeared a lot of people to you.
It endeared a lot of people to you. But I guess my question is like, how did you use that gratitude to like pull you back, and like how did you maintain an equilibrium during like those moments?
I'm still like I'm not. The door's not shut, obviously.
Yeah, right.
And I'm in a much better position now than I was before F1. So doing those races helped massively.
Right.
I wasn't being looked at for F1 before, whereas now I am, which is really big. So even at the time, I was like, I feel like it should have been me. It's just basically been like I'm in a better position now, and again, like I'm still on the verge of F1.
Yeah.
Looking back at my friends in New Zealand, looking back at where I'm from, it's still a very sick opportunity. So
and you're still young as shit.
Yeah, still young.
We're 10 years older than you. I'm curious if there's any what
it goes honestly in your mind. It goes back and forth though. It's like I'll bring myself to be appreciative of it, but then obviously I'll go back and say like, this sucks.
What more could I do?
Well, I think it's a balance. When people say like life's about balance, it's not like, and then I'm cool the entire time. It's like I'm pissed.
And then you see Ollie Behrman have one race, and you're like, I did 5 of those. I did 5. Does that bother you, or are you trying to block it out?
The thing is, I know Ollie, so it was really cool, and I think it showed more about the fact that you can sort of a lot of us are ready to jump in and really get the opportunity. So. I think it was, and he obviously did a great job as well.
I'm curious about during that time there was a clip in Drive to Survive when I think it was before Singapore, and it was like Sainz and Max, and they were just like this. They were like, this one's rough.
Yeah.
This one's. I'm curious, were there? I'm sure there was like plenty of moments of people like giving you like encouraging words or encouraging times. Was there any did people was there a hazing process at all? Did anyone ever any of the other drivers mess with you a little bit? In jest?
Actually, to be honest, I was quite surprised. Everyone was very nice and welcoming, and like Zandvoort especially, there was a couple of guys that were, Charles was really, really nice. Like he was like, well done on the opportunity and enjoy it, and Max as well. We share in the European race. We have the energy station, and we share not rooms, but the rooms are right next to each other, the driver rooms.
Yeah.
And he was like, he came into my room before the race and was like, make sure you enjoy the race. And try and remember to enjoy it and not put too much pressure on yourself. And he was real nice about it. So, which was really, really cool.
Yeah.
So they were all pretty Like they were all pretty good.
Okay, so what were like? I know you probably when you're like lining up for your first race, that was probably a pinch me moment. Were there any smaller pinch me moments that like were they like, holy shit, this is happening, or like what were like the subtle pinch me moments? Like, was it your
the first one? I guess you guys have played the games. Have you played the games?
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, like the cut screen you load in, and you sit, and like the cut screen of loading into a race, you sit in the garage, and the like screen comes down, and there's all the photographers. There's like all the photographers around, and before P3, like I got in the car, and the screen came down, and like all the photographers are there. And dude, it was like straight from the game. I was like, this is so sick. It was unreal.
Wow.
Like I went straight to being
did you
a kid.
then say in your head, this is just like the video game?
Honestly, I was like this. I remember thinking to myself, this is like me at 8 years old playing the F1 2010.
Wow.
That was exactly what it was like. So
That's amazing.
The screen comes down. So what's on that screen in real life?
Yeah, what's on that screen?
It's a lot more complicated than what's in the game.
Do you have a controller and you're like, this? I want this on the rear wing.
No, you actually don't.
You have to adjust your arrow on the.
You tell your engineers what you want to have on the screen, but it's like a whole bunch of stuff you can have. But yeah.
So that was the moment. You're
That
like,
was
I am the video game.
What about when you were the only, car from the Red Bull family in Q3 in Singapore?
Oh, was that like were you like both happy and also like, oh shit, I just knocked Max out of Q3?
I mean, that was, we were freaking, to say, we were losing our shit when you did that.
Yeah.
I mean, like, Max, he's done this, we're Max fans, but when you hit that in Q3, we were losing our shit. How did it feel? I mean, how did that moment?
I had no idea.
Yeah.
Right.
Because it's not like when I cross the line, it's not my engineer's going to go, you're a Q3, Liam, and you knocked out Max Verstappen.
But you found out eventually.
He's like, you're Q3 P10. And I was like, great. But actually, I remember there was some stuff that we had to like improve for Q3. And so I wasn't totally happy anyway. And I didn't know I'd locked out Max. So I drive myself back to the garage. I get in, the screen comes down, and then I see the like timings, and I see everybody. And that's when I was like scrolling down and looked at the names and saw it. And then I saw the the time difference, and it was because it was like 0.01 of a second or something like that. And I was like, oh. Sorry, dude.
Sucks to suck.